Could your hot yoga and sauna time be making your melasma worse? Believe it or not, yes. Melasma frequently is triggered by things like hormones and sunlight, but did you know that melasma can also be triggered by things like heat, visible light, and even inflammation? I'm Dr. Marielle Smina. Welcome to my channel, The Skin Real, where I give real people real skincare guidance and education so that they can make informed decisions about their skin health. Sound good? Let's get into it. This is my weekly recap video episode where I will be breaking down my key takeaways from my most recent guest interview with Amy Koberlein. She is a dermatology physician assistant in Miami, Florida, and she works with some of the top dermatologists in Miami, and she really knows her stuff about skincare and helping people have healthy skincare habits and knowing what to use on their skin and also how to get the best cosmetic results. Now, she also is the host of a wildly popular community called Skin Enthusiast, as well as a podcast where she helps give really good skincare information and education to people. And of course, that totally resonates with me. So I was so thrilled to be able to talk with her and talk with another person who is trying to put out unhyped, real skin information to people, because we all know there's so much misinformation out there. Now, she brought up some really key things, and she talked about her struggle and her journey with melasma and how it actually began when she started taking a birth control pill, which is actually can be very common. We know that there's this hormonal component to melasma, and she also then developed it again when she was pregnant, which is also fairly common for people who struggle with melasma. If you don't know this about melasma, repeat after me. Melasma is a chronic skin condition. This is not something we can cure, and it can be really, really tricky to treat for a number of reasons. Number one is that melasma is caused by things like our hormones and by sunlight, and these are not things we really can avoid. You can do the best you can. If it seems to be very hormonally driven, you can opt to be off a hormonal birth control pill. And while we can't opt out of the sun, we just have to be very careful and know that we really have to be vigilant with sun protection if you struggle with melasma. The other thing that people may not know is that melasma can be triggered by other things, even visible light, just light that you can see, as well as things like heat. So anything that causes your skin to feel hot and warm, that can cause vasodilation, and it can also trigger melasma, as well as things that are causing irritation on your skin. So again, if you're using a ton of different products, you're using a lot of exfoliants, this can cause irritation, can actually make your melasma worse. That brings me to my second point about melasma, which makes it so tricky, is that you typically have to move pretty slowly with melasma. This is not something that you can just knock out of the park with a really aggressive chemical peel or a really aggressive laser treatment. If anything, that's going to make the melasma worse. So with melasma, during the treatment phase, you do have to treat it slowly. You cannot be overly aggressive, which can be a little frustrating for people. And then once your melasma is clear, then you are in the maintenance phase. And this is where it's so critical to make sure you're wearing a sunscreen. Try to stick with a tinted sunscreen because that will help protect from visible light. Try to avoid things where you're getting excessively hot. So that steam room, that sauna, that hot yoga, those can all be things that trigger melasma. Even things like an LED face mask. If you feel your skin getting warm and flush under there, then it could be triggering your melasma. So things to think about with that. There are treatment options, but just remember that even once we get it clear, then that's just the first step, because then the maintenance phase is so critical too, so that it doesn't just come rebounding back. So I love that she shared that journey with us and her struggles with melasma as well. And she lives in a really sunny place, so I know that can't be easy to really be vigilant with sun protection. So that brings me to my next point. And I did ask Amy, what are some of your top tips for beautiful, radiant skin? And not surprisingly to me, she said a sunscreen. And I love that, because if you're not going to wear sunscreen, then you might as well not do anything else at this point, because it's just going to be a waste of money getting all the chemical peels and toxins and all these other things. If you're then going to go out and tan and fry your skin, the results aren't going to be as amazing as they could be. But then she also mentioned it's not just sunscreen. And I love this because it's really sun protection. And too often we think of sun protection as just being sunscreen, but sunscreen is just one component. And this is why people will come into my office or they'll show me that they got burned. And the reason they got burned is they put sunscreen on in the morning, they went outside, they forgot to reapply, they missed an area, they sweated it off, it was cloudy, they didn't think they needed to reapply. And that's where you could run into trouble. So sunscreen alone is not the end-all be-all. It's important to put it on, reapply every few hours if you're outdoors, but don't forget other sun protective measures, things like wearing a hat, sitting in the shade, avoiding the intense midday sun, wearing sun protective clothing. I'm a big fan of this, especially if you have a job or you're spending hours upon hours outside. Seek out, if you can't be under the shade, a long sleeve shirt or some sort of sun protective garment and a hat. It will really, really save your skin. So think of sunscreen as just one component of sun protection, and that sun protection is sort of the umbrella term, and there are lots of different ways to do that, and you really have to do multiple things. Sunscreen is just one component of sun protection. We also talked about keeping your skincare simple and consistent, and I love this, and I'm going to be consistent with this message and keep putting it out there because it's so important that it does not need to be complicated. It does not need to involve 1,000 different steps. If anything, your skin will look better when you keep it simple, because when you use too many products, too many actives, you risk irritating your skin, and that having the different ingredients and actually using too many ingredients at once can backfire and make your skin not look as good as it should and can damage that skin barrier. So you don't need anything fancy. I mean, Amy shared her skincare routine with us, and it was really simple. It's exactly what I do. And she's a skin enthusiast. And you just start with a gentle cleanser or just water in the morning, a vitamin C serum, and then a moisturizer, or just go straight to your sunscreen. You can do that as well. And then in the evening, she does a double cleanse. I think this is optional for some people, but if you are wearing water-resistant, zinc or mineral-based sunscreens, or you have a lot of makeup on, this is not a bad idea at all. And the point of the double cleanse is to have the first cleanse be a more oil-based solution or product so that it can really grab onto that dirt, that makeup, that oil, the sunscreen, and then follow it up with your gentle cleanse. If you've ever had like a waterproof makeup on or a thick sunscreen on, you know that if you just do one simple wash, a lot of times it will still feel like it's on there. So she does a double cleanse with a more micellar water or oil-based first cleanser, and then the second one is her gentle cleanser, and then she follows that with either a retinoid or some sort of exfoliating pad, but never together, and then she'll follow up both of those with a moisturizer. So again, it can be super simple. The point is find something that works for you, find the product that works for you, and be consistent. Stick with it. Avoid the temptation to bounce around and try a lot of different things, because then you're not going to get any benefit and you're probably going to get irritation. She also made a great point to look at the ingredients that are actually in your product. Another great point is that she said shop for your skin condition, not for specific actives, because what happens is a lot of these skincare companies and products, they have several actives in all their products. And now people all want to have niacinamide in everything, and they want hyaluronic acid in everything, and they want all these different things, a retinol and everything. And if you're using those products in one or two things, that's fine. But if they're in everything or at really high concentrations, it might be irritating your skin. So rather than just shopping for one specific ingredient, shop for your skin condition. And chances are several of those actives you might be looking for are already going to be combined in that product. And you don't need to go buy a dedicated serum just for hyaluronic acid or just for niacinamide. It's probably already in your retinoid or your sunscreen or your moisturizer, and it might be in all of them. So just be mindful of that. We hear these buzzword actives and we think, oh yeah, we got to go out and get it. But just flip your products around, and you may be already using it and not even knowing it. So just double check that and make sure that you're not kind of double dipping, triple dipping with all these actives in more products than you need. And you might be sitting there saying, well, I have really no idea what skin condition I'm trying to treat or what I need for my skin condition. And that's where seeing someone who's really educated in skin health can be so important and so imperative. And that's when you would go see your dermatologist or dermatology provider to get some guidance on, well, what is the best option for what I have and what do I even have? What do I need? So again, instead of relying on your social media feed or celebrities, actually go see someone who specializes in treating the skin to get guidance on the best products for your skin. And they can help steer you in the right direction and help you avoid a lot of trial and error and frustration. Lastly, I had to ask Amy, since she is a skin enthusiast, what are some trends that she would like to just see go away and disappear? And of course, these 20-step skincare routines, they have got to go. I totally agree with her. They are not helping anyone, maybe just the influencer posting it because they get paid by the companies, but you do not need these complicated skincare routines. And like Amy said, we don't even think the people doing these videos are actually doing these routines themselves because they are getting so elaborate and so complicated. So just take it to a dermatologist and a dermatology PA that you do not need to be doing these complicated skincare routines to get beautiful, healthy skin. In fact, it's the opposite. Other things she was mentioning are these TikTok trends. They just seem to be getting more outrageous than ever. And it's almost like they're just trying to be clickbait to get people to click on things. So really take it with a grain of salt. These things you see, these trends, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. A lot of this DIY stuff, making your own sunscreen, it's really not safe. It's really can be harmful. You could go out in the sun and get burned thinking you're protected when you're not. Like, you're not an at-home chemist. So just stick with the products that have been tried and true, and don't be trying to make your own acne mask and hoop facials, or can't even keep up with all the crazy stuff out there. Instead, really trust someone knowledgeable in skincare to help you instead of these kind of wacky, crazy TikTok trends. I had such a great time talking with Amy. So many great pearls. I love her podcast, and I love the work that she's doing, helping educate people that skincare really is for everyone. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be complicated. And that healthy skin really is attainable. So if you'd like to hear the full episode with Amy, be sure to click on the link here, and I will see you next week.